Hi guys, we're starting our unit specifically on circles. So today we're going to be talking about a definition of circles, parts of a circle, as well as circumference. So before we get started with our first example, let's first define what a circle is. Okay? So a circle is the locus of all points in a plane that is equidistant, same distance from a given point, known as the center of the circle, right? So here it's a circle. All of these points are the same distance, the same length away from this center C. Right? Any points within it are no longer that same distance. Anything beyond the circle, no longer the same distance. Okay? A circle is usually named by its center point. So here the figure below shows circle C, which can be written circle C. Okay, with that circle and then C. It's named by its center. Okay, so there are several special segments in circle C that are also shown here. The first one here is a chord, and all a chord is it goes from one endpoint to another endpoint of the circle. Okay, a diameter is a special type of chord. Okay, because it also goes end to end, but it specifically goes through the center of a circle. Okay, so a diameter is part of the chord family, but it has that extra definition of it has to go through the center. Okay, and then any segment that goes from our center to our circle is known as our radius. So here we actually see several radii, right? CD is a radius, CB is a radius, and so is CE. Okay? So like I said, the plural of radius is radii. Okay? And the term radius can mean a segment or the measure of the segment. Okay? And the same is true for diameter. Okay? Okay, so let's get started with example 1, which is naming or identifying the parts of a circle. Okay? So here we have a picture of our circle. We're naming the circle. This circle is known as Circle K. Okay, not the place that you can buy stuff from or the convenience store. Okay, it's named that because its center is here at K, so it's Circle K. Okay, name a radius of the circle. So again, radius goes from center to the edge. So if K is our center, we have several radii here. So KP is one of them. KR is another one. Okay. KN is another, KO is another, and KQ. Okay, it only asks for one, but all of these are radii because it goes from the center, and then the other endpoint is the circle. Okay, name a chord of the circle. Okay, so a chord, definition of chord is it's from one part of your circle to the other part. Okay, so an example of a chord here is NO. Because note, endpoint on the circle, endpoint on the circle. Okay, and another one is also RP, right? Endpoint on the circle, endpoint on the circle. Okay. However, of these two chords, RP is a special chord known as the diameter because it goes through the center, which is point K. Okay. So why don't you try CYP1, name the circle, a radius, a chord, and a diameter. You only need to do one of each of them. Okay, so for your name of your circle, it should be circle X. It could be written either way. For radius, any of these would work, XZ or its reverse ZX, XT, XU, and XV or their reverse. Okay. For your chords, that's RS, or ZT, or their reverse, right? Because again, endpoints are on the circle. And then the diameter here is ZT or TZ. There we go. Okay. The next part is finding the radius and the diameter. Okay. So here I'm going to write it on my picture. Okay. So here it asks me if DF is 10. So if this whole thing is 10, I want to know what DA is. Okay, so what we know is that 2 of our radii equals our diameter. So 2 of our DAs would equal DF. Right? 2 of our radius equals our whole diameter. So if DF is 10, Divide both sides by 2 or half of it, dA is 5. And this is the reason why. Okay, and then let's try B here. AG is 12. Right? So note that this here is a radius. Right? So if AG is 12 and I want to find LA, also a radius, it has to be the same as well. Because the radius of a circle are the same, no matter where we're talking about. Okay, so why don't you try CYP 2A and 2B, and then come check your answer when you're done. Okay, so for 2A, PG is 14, and for 2B, DF is 15. If you got that right, you can move on to the next example. If not, here is your explanation. So 2A, PA is 7, so that's a radius. If I want to find PG, that's the diameter. 2 of my radii make the diameter. So 2 times 7 gives me 14. Okay. For 2B, PG, that's the diameter, is 15. So to find DF, also the diameter, they would be the same. So DF is 15. Okay, moving on to example 3. So the diameter of circle A, circle B, and circle C are 10, 20, and 14 inches respectively. We want to find XB. Okay? So some things to mark. Okay. So here to here, this whole thing here is 10 inches. Okay. The whole diameter for circle B is 20 inches. Okay. And the whole diameter for circle C, this whole thing, is 14 inches. And we want to find XB. Okay? So what that means then, AX should be half. Right? So that means AX would equal 5. Okay? So if BA here, that's, so AX, this is the radius for circle A, that's why it's half, it's 5. Okay. Then here, A to B, that's the radius for circle B, so that'll be half of that. So I can say AB would be half of 20 is 10. So here I know that AX plus XB should equal AB, right? I know that because of the segment addition postulate. AX plus XB would be AB. AX is 5, XB I'm finding, and AB is 10. So if I subtract 5 on both sides, that means XB here is 10 inches. And there you go. Okay. Sorry. 10 minus 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. So XB is 5 inches. Okay. Why don't you try CYP3, and then once you're done, come check your answer. Okay, you should have gotten that BY equals 3 inches. If you got that right, you can move on to example 4. If not, here is your explanation. Okay. So here I want to find BY. Okay. I know that BC is 10, because if the diameter is 20, BC, the radius, would be half of that, so that's 10. Okay. Circle C, I know the diameter is 14, so CY is the radius, so that's half of that, which is 7. And then I know BY plus YC, or CY, would equal this whole thing, BC here. So substituting what I know and subtracting 7 on both sides, that means BY equals 3 inches. Okay, next, example 4 is about finding circumference, diameter, and radius. Okay. So definition of circumference you should be quite familiar with, but the circumference of a circle is the distance all around the circle. Okay? It's most often represented by the letter capital C. Okay? And what we know about the circumference is that our circumference is pi times our diameter, or 2 pi r. And the reason why is because 2r is d here. So let's get started. So we want to find the circumference if r is 7 inches. So here circumference is 2 pi r. So that means it'll be 2 pi times 7 inches. So 2 times 7 is 14. So it'll be 14 pi inches. This is the exact circumference. Okay. And then if we type that into our calculator, 14 pi is approximately 43.98. It was supposed to be centimeters, but okay. So there you go. Okay. So the 14 pi inches is the exact circumference. This is the rounded approximation. Okay. So B, find circumference if D equals 12.5 inches. Okay. So here, C is pi times diameter. So that would be 12.5 times pi inches. So this is the exact circumference. Okay. And then if I wanted to know what it is approximately, that is approximately 39.27 inches. And there you go. Okay. We can also find what our diameter and radius is if we're given their circumference. Okay. So C, circumference, is 2 pi r. Circumference is also pi times diameter. So if we know our circumference is 136.9, I can substitute it in for the C. And solving for this, to get r by itself, since it's connected by multiplication, I can get rid of it by dividing. Since this is connected by multiplication, I can get rid of it by dividing. Okay. So 136.9 divided by 2 pi. Okay. If you're going to do it all in one go, make sure that the 2 pi is in parentheses. Okay. This gives me, rounded to the nearest hundredth, so 2 decimal places, 21.79 is approximately what the radius. Since it's meters, that's 21.79 meters. Right? And then for the diameter, same thing. 136.9 divided by pi. And this is approximately 43.58. Okay? And then here, we'll see if we doubled it, 21.79 times 2, we get we get our diameter here. There you go. Okay. So why don't you try 4A, 4B, and 4C and come check your answer when you're done. Okay, so for 4A, you should have gotten 24 pi inches as the exact circumference, which is approximately 75.40 inches, right? Because circumference is 2 pi r. Okay, for 4B, you should have gotten 7.25 pi meters. That's the exact circumference, which is approximately 22.78 meters, right? Because circumference is pi times diameter. Then for 4C, the radius, you should have gotten 12.38 centimeters, and for the diameter, you should have gotten 24.76, right? So since you know the circumference is 77.8, you can replace C with that. And then solving for r, divide by 2 pi on both sides. Solving for d, divide by pi on both sides. And there you go. And one great way to check is 12.38 times 2 is 24.76. And there you go. Okay, moving on to the last example. Here, we want to find the exact circumference of circle P. Okay? Here, what you should notice is that you have a rectangle inscribed inside your circle, right? And here, because when we cut it with our diagonal, this forms a right angle or a right triangle here. Okay? This is the diameter. Okay, and so we can use Pythagorean theorem to find what this is, and this here is the hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle. Right? So here, I'm going to call it D because it's our diameter. D squared, same thing as C squared in this case, is 5 square plus 12 square. 5 square is 25. 12 square is 144. 25 plus 144 is 169. And when I square root both sides, instead of having positive and negative 13, because this represents distance here, I can't have negative 13. So here my diameter is 13 centimeters. So this here, my hypotenuse, is 13 centimeters. And now I can find the circumference, because circumference is pi times diameter, and so that would just be 13 pi centimeters. And there you go. Okay? And I'm not doing the rounded one because it asks for the exact circumference. Okay? So why don't you try CYP5, and then once you're done, come check your answer. Okay, so for your circumference, you should have gotten 8 square root of 2 pi inches. If you got that right, you can get started on homework. If not, here is your explanation. So here it says that a square with side lengths of 8 inches is inscribed in circle N. So here it is inscribed in circle N. Okay? If the side lengths are each 8 and 8 here, then if I go from diagonal, if I make my diagonal for my square, this is the diameter. Okay. It forms a right triangle because square, the angles are right angles. So then I can use Pythagorean theorem to figure out what the diameter is. So d squared equals 8 squared plus 8 squared. 8 squared is 64. 64 plus 64 is 128. Then to get rid of the square, I'm going to square root it. Okay, so that's square root of 128, okay, which simplifies to 8 square root of 2. Okay. I'm not going to round it because it asks for exact circumference, and circumference is pi times diameter. Now that I have the diameter, it's just 8 square root of 2 times pi, and then the units is inches. And there you go. That's it for today. Have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.